think the claims that millionaires are going to leave our state are like super overblown, and if, you know, the ones that leave, like, bye.
We've cleared hundreds of thousands of pounds of trash through this beautiful area. It is the #1 viewpoint for Seattle's downtown, and it's been completely destroyed by drug addiction.
Collard, I see again the musical chairs with homeless encampments 3 or 4 blocks away.
She said bye to the tax base, to the employers, to the money that funds every single progressive program she promised Seattle. These employers and these very wealthy people are going to say bye right back. Let's get into it. So we did a full breakdown a couple of videos ago about how Katie Wilson's Starbucks boycott helped push 2,000 jobs and $100 million away from her city to Nashville, Tennessee. The link will be in the description if you haven't watched it. You can check that out. But today we want to go a little deeper because the Starbucks story is just the headline. The real story is what's happening on the ground in Seattle right now. While their mayor is busy telling millionaires bye, directing cops to monitor ICE agents, and putting up signs in parks using transportation budget money, we have fentanyl pills near children's playgrounds. We have homeless encampments playing musical chairs across the city. Small business owners are getting robbed 4 times a year with no police response.
Good grief. Oh my God, look at this horde. Black market of stolen goods. Unbelievable. Total disaster. Hey, is that okay? You guys good?
Yeah, we're Gucci.
Okay, I just want to make sure you're okay. You're trying to stay warm, right?
Yeah, what's that?
All right, man. What's up, Playboy? Drug addicts everywhere, black market of stolen goods thriving. Welcome to 12th Ave and Jackson Street in Seattle's Chinatown ID.
And we have a mayor that calls herself a socialist and apparently has no idea how city budgets actually work. Today, we're going to connect all of it. Let's dive in.
I think the claims that millionaires are going to leave our state are like super overblown, and if, you know, the ones that leave, like, bye.
So we need to start here because this clip is the foundation of everything wrong with how Katie Wilson governs and will govern. This isn't something that was taken out of context. This is her actual governing philosophy stated plainly on camera. She thinks millionaires leaving is overblown, and if they go, goodbye. Here's the problem with that. I'm going to say this as clearly as I possibly can because this is basic, fundamental civic economics. You cannot fund a progressive agenda without a tax base, period. Full stop, end of conversation. Seattle's homeless crisis costs the city over $154 million a year. And that's what they're spending now, not what it's going to take to actually fix it. A Chamber of Commerce funded study said that King County would need to spend about $400 million a year for a decade to actually meaningfully address the homeless crisis. Where does that money come from? It comes from income taxes, property taxes, business and occupation taxes. And who pays the lion's share for all those things? The millionaires that she just said bye to, the corporations she just told the city to boycott, the employers that she handed a reason to move to Nashville. You cannot tax the rich if the rich leave. You cannot fund social services without a tax base. You cannot say bye to Starbucks and then wonder why the city doesn't have enough money to put a roof over everybody's head. These things are directly connected, and Katie Wilson either doesn't understand that or she does understand it and doesn't care. Neither one of those is acceptable. And here's what makes it worse. She said about millionaires that their leaving is overblown. But let's look at what's actually happening. Howard Schultz, that's the Starbucks founder, announced that he's moving to Florida the same day as the Washington millionaires tax was signed. Washington went from 6th best state to do business to 45th in 10 years. Now, Starbucks, headquartered in Seattle for decades, just sent $100 million and 2,000 jobs to Tennessee.
My name is Andrea Suarez. My title is founder and executive director of We Heart Seattle. In one afternoon, we picked up several hundred pieces of foil in the off-leash dog park, near the children's playgrounds, and the memorials and the pagoda that's over here as well. Every one of these foils, you know, was a pill. It could have been a potential overdose. You can see there's needles as well. And oftentimes we'll find that the drugs are still rolled up in the foil and they get dropped. And we've had several hundred cases of overdoses and poisoning of infants and dogs. King County Behavioral Health is now handing out paperwork on how to reverse an overdose of your dog. That's how bad it is.
So let me give you the numbers behind what you just saw. So in 2020, King County recorded 167 fentanyl overdose deaths. By 2023, that number hit 1,086. 1,086 people dead from fentanyl in one county in 1 year. That is a 550% increase in 3 years. Even as some come down slightly since, 788 in 2024 and 696 in 2025, those are nearly 700 people a year dying in the streets in Seattle County, while the city spends $10 million a year moving encampments from one block to the next. Seattle's fire chief told a U.S. senator they respond to 4 overdoses every single day. Not per week, per day. That's the baseline reality on the ground in the city that Katie Wilson is running. And what is her solution? $5 million for tiny homes. Her plan is to build 500 tiny homes by June and double it by the end of 2026. Now look, I'm not going to sit here and say tiny homes are useless. I mean, this is the state of our housing market, but let's be real about the math here. King County has nearly 14,000 people experiencing homelessness right now. That's a 25% increase since 2022. You cannot tiny home your way out of this crisis that is growing faster than your solutions. Andrea, who has pulled hundreds of thousands of pounds of trash in Seattle's parks with her own organization, says the city has removed rock bottom by offering free housing for life with no conditions. Those are her words. She's saying compassion without accountability is not true compassion. It's enabling. You cannot give someone a tiny home and expect a fentanyl addiction to cure itself. Meanwhile, King County is handing out pipes used to smoke fentanyl for free in the name of harm reduction and giving away paperwork on how to reverse an overdose in your dog. Your dog. This is what's happening in the city while the mayor is saying bye to the millionaires whose tax dollars would pay for the actual treatment programs that would try to fix this.
So I'm Matthew Humphrey. I'm the owner of Steel Barber, Steel Salon, and Steel Barber and Spa here in Seattle. I employ right now 43 people in the city of Seattle, and I'd like them to feel safe. And, you know, we have a lot of mental illness in these streets in Seattle, and we don't have the forced incarceration, whether you're high on drugs or seriously mentally ill. We recently had a woman walk into our salon and shop for retail and ask to use the restroom. And then as she was shown back to use the restroom, broke into our employee area and stole my employees' cash right out of their purses. Come to find out, she has a 10-year rap sheet, and she's been doing this for a decade, terrorizing small businesses, stealing from them, and she's a known felon. Of course, I reported it to the police. We did all the things we have to do online because no police ever showed up for that, which is sad because they're great people and we just don't have enough of them in one of my 3 locations. Last year, I got broken into a total of 4 times in 3 locations. So the last one, I lost $26,000 in retail. I lost $3,000 in a new front window.
43 employees, that's who this man is responsible for. And he got broken into 4 times last year across 3 locations, lost nearly $30,000. A woman with a 10-year rap sheet walked into his shop and stole cash directly from his employees' purses. He called the police and nobody came. I want you to connect that directly with the like-bye clip because that's what actually happens when millionaires and corporations say goodbye. Tax revenue drops, the city budget gets squeezed, and the first things that it feel are the things that don't make the headlines. Police staffing, response times, accountability for repeat offenders. Matthew Humphrey is not a talking head. He is a man employing 43 people in a city that took $30,000 from him last year, and they couldn't send a single police officer to respond.
So you've lived through the transition from former Mayor Bruce Harrell to Mayor Katie Wilson. Is there any differences you've noticed in the city leadership?
No, not a single one. And that's disheartening. I hope this new mayor can flip the script and get something changed, but
I don't see any signs that it's going to be different.
This is disheartening because he was hoping for the best. He gave her the benefit of the doubt, and he's watching the same encampments rotate 3 or 4 blocks, the same crimes, the same non-response, the same policies that failed before. This is what the buy costs. It costs people $30,000 and the police department that never shows up. It costs the Chinatown business owners sleep at night, and it costs the workers in those shops, people who are not millionaires, people who are exactly who Katie Wilson said that she's governing for.
The mayor, Katie Wilson, the new police chief, Sean Barnes, they want their officers actually reporting ICE activity. So we don't have enough police officers to monitor what's going on safety-wise here in Seattle, but they're using them to monitor ICE agents.
Seattle is hundreds of officers short. Small business owners are calling police and nobody's coming. The fire department is responding to 4 overdoses a day. And what is Katie Wilson doing with her political capital? She pulled money from the transportation budget, the fund that fixes roads, maintains infrastructure, keeps the city moving, to put up anti-ICE signs in public parks. Signs warning about ICE agents staging in parks, where there's no evidence ICE was ever staging, political theater paid for with infrastructure money. And then she directed her already short-staffed police department to monitor and report federal immigration enforcement activity. These are officers that are not responding to Matthew Humphrey's break-ins. These are the officers that are not on the street where 700 people a year are dying of fentanyl overdoses. They're trying to monitor ICE agents. This is what economic illiteracy looks like when it runs a city. Every dollar matters. Every officer matters. Every policy decision has a trade-off. And Katie Wilson is making trade-offs that basically prioritize optics, political theater over the safety of the constituents that she was elected to protect. You can have a position on immigration and still understand that your city's police department is not the right instrument to fight that battle, especially when you're hundreds of officers short and your streets look like what we've been showing you today. And the reason why I'm interested in talking about this mayor, because I have a very similar mayor in New York City. My mayor, Zohan Mandami, which we have covered extensively on this channel, talking about the Ken Griffin's $238 million penthouse, made it a public issue, made it a personal issue, making Griffin a personal target to promote this new tax on luxury second homes. They may pull out a $6 billion development project at 350 Park Avenue, a project that would have created 6,000 construction jobs and 15,000 permanent jobs in Midtown Manhattan. $6 billion, and my mayor decided to make a viral video to score some political points. What did Mandami do when the consequences start showing up? He held a press conference saying that tax isn't motivated by one individual and quietly signaled that he's opening to meet with Griffin. Sounds familiar? It's the same move that Wilson made after Starbucks announced the Nashville move. Attack, get caught, soften, issue a statement about partnerships. This is the pattern. These mayors, either Wilson in Seattle or my mayor in New York, they treat wealth correct. They treat wealthy people like adversaries. They're the bad guys. And they act confused when the wealth starts moving somewhere else. You cannot fund this progressive utopia on ideology alone. You're going to need a tax base. And when you make the tax base the enemy, the tax base was going to leave. And the people who are suffering are not going to be the millionaires or the billionaires. They're going to be the small business owners, the ones who have 43 employees. The people in Seattle encampments dying of fentanyl. They're the ones that these mayors claim that they're protecting, that they're governing for.
What would you say socialist and progressive urban policy means to you as someone who's trying to run a small business?
You know, it's like a foreign language I don't understand. As a small business owner in America, none of that makes any sense to me. I just don't know how you create any incentive for someone to go out and do what I'm doing. It sounds anti-me. I hope this new mayor can flip the script and get something changed, but I don't see any signs that it's going to be different.
That's your verdict right there. From people who lived there, who stayed there, who gave her the benefit of the doubt. Not one single difference under Katie Wilson compared to the mayor before her. And remember, Wilson did not run as a continuation of the last mayor. She ran as a revolution. She called herself a socialist on camera. She stood on that Starbucks picket line hours after winning. She said she was going to be different. She said she was going to fight for the workers, the renters, the people being left behind by the old way of doing things. And the people on the ground, the ones that she made promises to, are looking around and saying, not a single thing. Nothing has changed. The encampments are still there. Crime is still happening. The police aren't coming. Fentanyl is still in the dog park, and jobs are leaving and going to Nashville. That is the cost of economic illiteracy and power. This is what happens when you're governed by ideology instead of outcomes. And this is what Seattle has signed for the next 4 years. So this isn't about left and right. This isn't about being anti-union or anti-worker. This is about the most basic principle of governance. Your policies have consequences, real ones, measurable ones, and the people who pay the price are never the ones making these speeches. Katie Wilson said bye to the millionaires, And those millionaires are going to say buy back. And the people who are going to be left holding the bill are going to be those employees at the small businesses, the families walking through parks with fentanyl on the ground, and the residents who looked at 4 years of promises and saw not a single thing was delivered. But we will continue to follow this story as it continues to unfold. If you're interested in this type of content and you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. All your support matters, and it's helpful to build this channel as we get to 200,000 subscribers. Appreciate all of your help. Thank you for taking time to watch this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.